Hello and welcome back to the Morrissey and Wine podcast. My name's George.
And I'm Chris.
And we would like to start by saying hello to our listeners in UK, America, India, Ireland, Germany, Australia, Japan, Denmark, Spain, Ukraine, Nigeria, and even, Chris, Hong Kong.
Even Hong Kong?
Even Hong Kong.
Where do we get most listeners, probably?
Most of our listeners are in the UK, so about 50%, according to the figures, are UK, followed by America.
Oh, so Anglosphere, mainly?
Yeah, and then, what did I say was the third? India, I think.
Is it India?
Yeah. I think we have some listeners in India. So, to everybody out there, hello and welcome. It's really good to have you on board. So, we have some wine. Now, I have got stick now from 3 different people saying that the wines that we choose are absolutely shite. Now, they're supposed to be medium-priced wines. That's always been our ambition. But I read an article the other day in... do you know I'm a subscriber to The Times, Chris?
Yeah.
I tried to get that into every conversation that I have. Because, frankly, it does make me a better person than you, Chris. Now, this article about wine tasting said, if you basically... like £6 of a bottle of wine is tax, is VAT and duty and all that sort of stuff. So if you buy a bottle of wine for £8, you're really only buying £2 worth of wine. But because the £6 is constant in every bottle, if you buy a bottle for what they recommended, £12, then the wine you're paying for is £6 of that, and it's 3 times better.
Okay, there's a lot of maths, so give me a second. So I normally buy a £3 bottle of red wine, so I'm getting minus £3 worth of wine.
Yeah, you can't buy a bottle of wine for £3 these days, though,
You can.
I don't think. Can you?
LD.
Okay.
But it's £3.40.
Yeah, essentially, in the early stages of wine pricing, going up from about £5 to £12 is getting exponentially better with every pound that you spend.
Okay.
So I have got a £12 bottle this time. It's Sainsbury's Taste the Difference. It's called Sainsbury's Central Coast Californian Chardonnay. And I guess we'll find out if it's worth the money. So I shall pour it now. We were nominated for that award for the fanzine.
Yeah.
It's coming up next month. Now, you were going to come with me. You were able to make it in the end because you're going to...
Yeah, because I feel bad, George, but I'm going to the some of the shows in Vegas.
To the Morrissey show.
Managed to make it work by doing a roundabout flight via Atlanta to save on the flights, but yeah.
Oh, really?
But anyway.
Well, no, that's very good. I'm glad you're going because you're going to do a review for us for the fanzine and hopefully for the podcast too. But no, I'm going to be taking my cousin Blaine, who listens to every episode and was one of the people who told me that our wine choices are shit. So, Blaine, this £12 bottle of wine is in honour of your comment. So, Chris, what have we got coming up on this month's podcast?
So, coming up, we have news from the world of Morrissey and the Smiths. Mm-hmm. We've got the famous quiz, and you're the quiz master this time.
I am indeed, yeah.
We have, backed by ever so popular demand, Nanny Vell reacts, and this time she's singing.
She's not singing. I mean, she could. We could ask her, but no, she's going to be examining Ouija board. And she has a genuine, real-life story of when she did a Ouija board and weird things happened. So we're going to hear about that.
Oh, okay. We then have, again, if you love Morrissey, then you'll also love this, where we recommend something that relates to Morrissey in some way.
Yeah, like a film or a book or anything that we think, if you like Morrissey, you're probably going to like this as well.
We'll dissect the lyrics of 3 songs. And then finally we have Dan from Boston. He runs the Smiths Museum on Instagram. And he's going to open up his treasure chest and show some of his artifacts, his prized artifacts. Is that right?
Yeah, I wrote that little bit of script for you, and I now think it sounds like an innuendo.
It does, doesn't it?
Open his treasure chest and show you his prized artifact.
I was worried about what I was reading there. Which is great, because we met him, didn't we, at the Salford Lads Club briefly, and we exchanged, but we showed him our badge, and he showed us his badge.
Yeah, we swapped badges. Yeah, he seemed like a really nice guy. I mean, he is a really nice guy, and we're going to talk to him, because if you don't follow the Smiths Museum, just go and have a look now on Instagram and you'll know what we're talking about. It's just like, maybe a tour t-shirt from the crew of the Queen is Dead tour of the Smiths days, or like just like little bits, artifacts, like you said. So he's going to go through some of his best bits, and I think that'll be really good. So that'll be coming up at the end.
I wonder where he keeps all that stuff. It must be very secure.
Well, we'll have to ask him. Yeah, I mean, I'm
The
imagining.
exact location.
Yeah, I don't know if he's got maybe he's got a garage that he keeps it all in,
Really?
or maybe he doesn't
A
have.
garage.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't have thousands of items. Maybe he just has some very specific bits. But there's always new bits of memorabilia going up on his Instagram, so I don't know. But for now, our next step is into news from the world of Morrissey and the Smiths. So let's go into that.
So first on the agenda, we have a date for the Moz Army 2025.
Yes, so as you may or may not know, I have taken over the running of Moz Army from Julie, who did it for 10 or 11 years and has done an amazing, just fantastic job. And she's got a lot of other stuff going on, professional stuff, and she hasn't quite got the time to do Moz Army anymore, so she's asked me to take over, which I have. And I have now got the date booked in for Moz Army 2025, which is Saturday, May the 10th. So please put it in your diaries. And we have already, we're talking to a tribute band, we're talking to a DJ, we're looking for special guests, there'll be Mozioki, there'll be a raffle. A lot of the stuff that you've come to expect is going to be one night, so Saturday, May the 10th, not 2 nights. There is a possibility of doing the Smiths Disco the night before, so we might be able to still make it into a bit of a weekender, but Saturday, May 10th is the date that you need.
Yeah, really exciting, and we'll all pray for George.
Yeah, hashtag pray for George.
What's next, George?
Okay, so next from the world of Morrissey and the Smiths, Morrissey has listed his top 40, what he describes as his top 40 most lyrically self-fulfilling songs. So this isn't I think these 40 songs are my best lyrics, although I think it kind of is that a bit. But I think he's being typically vague because he's an Englishman and he doesn't want to say these are my best songs. I don't know. Maybe Morrissey would do that. Anyway, top 10. Let me list those for you. So, in at number 1. Oh, we need like sort of a Radio 2 kind of bed, don't we?
Countdown, yeah.
In at number 1 is Irish Blood, English Heart. Number 2, How Soon Is Now. Number 3, Last Night I Dreamt That Somebody Loved Me. At number 4 is Smiler with Knife. 5, Seasick, Yet Still Docked. Number 6, Trouble Loves Me. Number 7, Please, 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 Let Me Get What I Want. In at number 8 is Paint a Vulgar Picture. Number 9 is Once I Saw the River Clean. And at number 10 is Rebels Without Applause.
Any surprises there for you?
Yeah, Smiler with Knife at number 4 surprised me.
Okay.
Because, I mean, mainly because, well, partly because I've never really understood the song that well. But we're going to talk about it, aren't we? We're going to dissect the lyrics of 3 songs that feature in this list later on in the podcast. So I do have thought about some ideas about what it could be about, but I don't know. It's like a strange. It's thematically and conceptually, it's very different to a lot of Morrissey songs, isn't it? Were there any surprises for you?
Not really. I didn't actually realise it was ordered from 1 to whatever. So yeah, I didn't realise that. I didn't know they were ranked. I just thought these were 40 songs. But I think for me it was nice that that within that top 10, especially, there's such a mix of recent, older, and even older. So.
And not all. I mean, I think we're looking at a majority of solo songs.
There's still plenty of
Smiths. There's some Smiths in the top 10, and there's other Smith songs in the top 40. It's a fair point, actually, Chris. It is numbered 1 to 40, but it doesn't say these are ranked from 1 to 40. So I don't know. I just presumed, with Irish Blood, English Heart at number 1, with that being such a perfect crystallisation of his political identity, it would make sense that it's at number 1. So now, if you want to look at that list, you can go to morrisseycentral.com. In fact, as soon as that went out, here's a nice plug. I sent it to our WhatsApp followers. And if you want to get on the WhatsApp gravy train, I'll give you the details in a bit. What else has been happening in the world of Morrissey, Chris?
So there was a letter from the NME that resurfaced. Does it prove that the magazine made a mistake?
Yes. So this letter was posted on Morrissey's website. It is from, let me just get it up here, I've got a copy of it. It's from Mark Beaumont, who was a writer at the NME at the time. It was 2002. Now, what I'm looking at is a scan of a printout of the email. I think because it was 2002, I'm pretty sure Morrissey has email now, but I don't think he would have done in 2002. I think it's been printed off and faxed to him. It's an email from Mark Beaumont to Murray Chalmers at EMI Music, and he says, I won't read the whole thing. Hello, Moz. It's Enemy's 50th anniversary issue, and it's brought out the magnanimous old fool in us we'd like to make up. We're really sorry about all that racism stuff and taking the piss out of the Union Jack business at Finsbury Park. We just didn't get the point you were making, to be honest. And so on. He talks about burying the hatchet. Now, interestingly, this scan that I'm looking at has got some handwriting in the top right, and it says, "Can you believe it?" ? Exclamation mark. So I think that's the guy from EMI faxing this to Morrissey and writing on, "Can you believe this?" You know. Now, this obviously harks back to, as it says in the letter, Finsbury Park, when Morrissey came on stage with the Union Jack, which we've talked about before.
Yeah.
Enemy really went to town on that and basically all but said he was a racist, because obviously with the libel laws you can't go too far, but that now, you know, the Enemy in 2002 is trying to claw Morrissey back. I think it might have worked though, because Morrissey did do Enemy covers post 2002, didn't he? Sure he did.
Yeah,
yeah. So it's very interesting. It's a good bit of Morrissey's history. And what do you think, Chris? Do you think are they saying sorry, or are they just saying let's just forget about this whole thing?
I suppose that depends if it's real or not. But
it is real.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I suppose maybe they just want to suck up a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you why I know it's real almost for certain, because there's a post on Morrissey Solo from 2002 from someone signed as Mark Beaumont saying, "Does anybody know how to get in touch with Morrissey?" And then obviously this happened. So
Trying to get back in there.
Yeah. What else has been happening?
So next there was this one, which I didn't know about this, but you're going to have to explain this one as well. But apparently Kathy Burke speaks out against Morrissey. We don't like Morrissey anymore because he's a racist wanker. I mean, obviously Kathy was in the music video for a Ouija board, Kathy Burke, playing the imp.
Like an imp, like a demon.
Okay, yeah. So there was obviously some sort of relationship in the past. And she has been a fan, or was a fan, a big fan.
Well, she also appeared on the documentary, didn't she? Was it 2004, The Importance of Being Morrissey? She was one of the talking heads in that.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I love Kathy Burke, not as much as I love some of her contemporaries. Personally, I think Kathy Burke has gone quite far in one political direction. She's very proud of being woke, as she would describe it herself. That's fine. I'm not trying to start a culture war. But she has gone very political in a certain direction. And I think if you're in that direction, you have no choice but to say Morrissey is racist, because everybody else in that circle is saying the same thing. You don't want to get kicked out of the woke club.
No. Sounds like a fun club, doesn't it?
Yeah. But I think that's it. I think it's about political identity. She's putting her flag, placing her flag in the ground. And you know, that's her opinion. I love comedy, and I do love Kathy Burke. I just wanted to mark it here and say that she did say that. We don't have to discuss it too much.
It just questions how clever someone is when they say things like that, such sweeping statements. Just to maybe keep her place in the woke club, as you say. I don't know. Okay. Next, we're going on to the worldwide release of Beethoven Was Deaf reissue on CD, black vinyl, orange vinyl. That's right, isn't it? And that's the 26th of July. Yeah.
So that's, as you say, worldwide. So if you want to get your hands on that reissue, July 26th is the date that you will get it.
Yeah.
If I can just be honest, I'm not massively excited about Beethoven Was Deaf being reissued. As far as I'm aware, it's not even a remaster, is it? It's just a reissue.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think
it's just a reissue. Yeah.
But we can be thankful that it has sparked a few dates when you are going to go and see him live.
Yeah, and the album artwork is really good. It looks really strong.
Good. Well, you're in a minority of people who believe that.
Really, I really think it is. Yeah, and also nice to have orange vinyl.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, let me be clear. I'm still going to get a copy of this, even though I'm moaning about it. So whatever. Next, we wanted to mention Dickie Felton's new book. Can you pass it over, Chris?
Yep. Oh, there you go.
So Dickie Felton, who has been on this podcast before, he is an author of several Morrissey books, including The Day I Met Morrissey, which is a collection of people's stories about meeting him. This new book is called I Am Hated for Loving. It's by Dickie Felton and compiled by Iman Kakai Alazel. It is a coffee table book, essentially, of beautiful pictures of Smiths fans. I mean, there's a couple of pictures that I don't think are very beautiful, because Chris is in them. But no, I have actually, there we go, I've just found the page by accident.
Well, that one's, but the half of my face is cut off on that one. I'm
Yeah,
happy about that.
Your face is in the crease.
Yeah, that's
not for the
that's
first
very,
time.
It's very disrespectful, isn't it?
Yeah, and then there's another, I've just found the other one of you. So you and Carolina and Tom and Luke.
And Luke is on there as well. Yeah.
Lovely people.
Talking about all the people in the book as well, I think Dickie's, the way he's set up his postage is a bit sort of hard to post. I don't know, hard to post it around the world, because I've got about 6 copies at my house. Because loads of people have said to me, "Can I get it posted to your house and then pick it up at some point?"
Yeah.
So I think I've got loads of copies of it.
Look at your own little post office.
Yeah, I didn't just order 6 copies because I'm in it. I have people who ordered it to my house.
It's also got quotes that Morrissey has said while he's on the stage. I love that, because these quotes are so ephemeral, aren't they? And it's great that so many of them are written down. Chris, how are you finding the wine?
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah,
It's
so is
nice.
it £12?
Yeah,
Nice?
£12. I don't know. I don't know. I think I don't know about your maths earlier with the £6 thing. But...
£6, £2, £1 fish.
It tastes like white wine. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like on Peep Show when they say it's nice, but not like hot chocolate or Coca-Cola.
No, or beer.
Yeah. Okay, well, next we're going to go into Nanny Val Reacts.
Okay.
So let's speak to Nan.
Ouija board, would you work for me? I have got to say hello to an old friend. Ouija board, Ouija board, Ouija board, would you work for me? I have got to get through to a good friend. Well, she has now gone.
Welcome back to the podcast, Nan. How are you?
Fine, thank you, my love.
Good. Well, I'm joined by Chris this time.
I'm here. Nice to see you again, Vel.
Hi, Chris.
Annie Vel.
So this time, this was in fact your suggestion, Nan. You wanted to discuss the song Ouija Board, Ouija Board. I guess what did you just see the title and you thought, oh, that looks interesting?
To be truthful, I can't remember. I know I did suggest it, but I can't remember my motive. Perhaps I'd seen something at the same time on the telly or something. I'm not quite sure.
Well, it's from the 1990s. It has a pretty good music video. Now, I did say to you, can you guess who plays the demon, the imp in the video? Did you recognize her?
Yes, yeah, of course I did. Kathy Burke, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, I didn't know, because she's quite young, isn't she, in that video?
It's quite hard to recognise her in the video. Yeah, and did you recognise the other person who, like the medium?
Yes, yeah, Joan Sims.
Joan Sims.
So I know both of those. I know, yeah.
Oh,
She's
great.
from the Carry On films, mainly.
Yeah, Chris is a big fan of the Carry On films.
What was it? Hints of the Bell Boys in it? Do you know?
What, the young boys? No, I don't know. I don't know if they were famous or anything.
Was dressed in something similar, some sort of like a hotel uniform or something.
So, it is an interesting idea for a song. What did you make of it?
Well, he says he's just lost a friend and is trying to connect with her. That was the thought, and I think that's what most people do when they start messing around with the Ouija board. You know, it's because they're trying to contact someone that they lost. You know.
It's and it's got, obviously, with it being Ouija board, very occultist, isn't it? It's got an occult element to it, and I think Morrissey kind of considers it a bit of a throwaway song, but it does go kind of deep, doesn't it? Like you say, he's lost a friend and he's bemoaning the state of the world and all the carnivores and the destructors. Um, did that what did you think when he talks about all the carnivores as if that's like a very bad thing to be?
Well, I was trying to find out who the person he was that he'd lost, but I couldn't actually find it. Nothing actually came up. But I wondered if she too shared his beliefs that she was a vegan or a, vegetarian, and she had those same thoughts, and he was just thinking about that when he was thinking about her. I'm not sure. But
Yes.
do you know who it was?
I don't think
Have you
it's
any
ever
idea?
I don't think it's a real I don't think well, no, we don't know, and it's never really been said. I mean, I always thought it was maybe just a fiction to kick off the song, but it could, it could well have been a real person.
And my thoughts are always with his songs that they're motivated by something in reality. And
Mm.
I think again here, I think he truly had lost someone and was, that was his first thought to try and get in contact.
And I suppose even if that is true and it's actually about someone that he's lost, which is very sad, he doesn't miss the opportunity for humor, does he? With the what
No, always. I think that's again part of his standard sort of the way he operates, isn't it? Combining both, a sentiment, but also with humor. A
yeah,
bit rarefied humor, but humor.
I mean, he describes it as an unhappy planet. Do you think we live on an unhappy planet?
Again, I think it's his theme. I think he worries about the planet and the environment and animals. So I think it's all part and parcel of his thoughts through life, his modus operandi. I think that's him.
Well, I think you're right, and I think he's he's always well, I suppose in the general public perception they call him the Pope of Mope, don't they? And that everyone thinks
Yeah.
he's all really depressing and all this stuff. But yeah, but yeah, as we said, there's still
I
humor
think there's a
in
lot
it.
of humor. I think the Steven and the push off is sort of it's quite funny, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
almost like you're using the Ouija board. You just say, "Go away. We don't want to." Yeah,
Yeah.
that's quite funny because it's quite it starts very serious, doesn't it? That in the start of the song, and then it goes to that part, which is almost like just push off.
Yeah, but the Ouija board's a funny thing because I mean, the first time I ever done it, years and years ago, when your daddy was about two, George, and he's 60 now. So we did it just to humor my husband's mother, my mother-in-law, because she was Scottish and believed in everything related to the occult, But we weren't serious at all. And when it starts actually happening and you're not in control of it, it's quite, you think, what's happening here? What's going on?
Mm.
So we've experimented a few times over the years. I also used to own a toy shop, and Ouija boards, the one like he's using in this thing, were sold as toys. And we used it again, the same mother-in-law, Scottish mother-in-law, Janie. We used it and we sat there, and she was always, so keen to do it. And I always, as I am, quite an impatient person, I can never wait for a message to finish. I always think I can anticipate it. I know what it's going to say. So this time it kept just moving very, slightly to S, T, and a J. And I thought, it's nothing. I stopped. And she said, oh, let it go. And we tried it a few times. It kept doing this STJ.
Mm.
And when we let it go, it went STJOHN 63. And it stopped. And it was St. John 63. And you need to look up what St. John 63 is, because I wouldn't have had a clue. And there's only one chapter of St. John in the New Testament that goes up that far.
And what does
So
it say?
it says, can't quite exactly, but something like, the words I speak into are words of the spirit, they're not of the flesh.
Oh my gosh.
But you can read it. I think there's only one St. John 63 in the Bible. Lots of the other chapters only go up. But neither of us would have had a clue. Neither of us would have known that. We weren't religious people,
Yeah.
And we've had lots of experiences like that. Is when complete unbelievers, we've just sat and messed around and we've had these really weird messages. But we only ever ask for people we know, never anybody, not who is there.
Yeah, because there's that
Yeah.
like Ouija board housekeeping, isn't there? They say don't be very careful, and if you invite somebody in, then you have to also like say goodbye to it. Don't leave it open, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Because we spoke about on the I'm quite I don't know if I believe in these sorts of things, but obviously we spoke about something like last time about the star signs and things like that. But I think the with this, it's one thing that I am quite I think I'm a non-believer, but then it also makes me quite nervous thinking about doing one. So there must be something there, because why would
Yeah.
if I don't believe in it fully, then it's nothing to me. Why would I worry? But I still think to do one would be a big deal. So there must be something there. So yeah.
Yeah, well, that, as I said, that first time we did it for a laugh. We were just humoring my mother-in-law, and the other three, that her husband and my husband and myself, we had no intention of it being anything that worked, but it did. It literally did. At one point, I was left with just my father-in-law and myself for a message he'd asked for someone, his sister, who I knew nothing about, and it was whizzing around the table, and we only had cut out cards. And he kept saying, what did it say? So I know he wasn't directing it, and I know I wasn't directing it, but we had a message that was pertaining to her and her family, and it was very odd, very odd.
I love these. I love these stories. I mean, I know you've told me them before, but I love them. And do you think, Nan, that it's a mark of Morrissey being maybe like a more interesting pop star that he would do a song about a Ouija board? It's such a weird topic, isn't it, to do a song about?
Yes, but anything that occurs in his life seems to stimulate him. I mean, he composes a song about it. You know, there's been many odd things, haven't there, in his life that he's composed music about. So I think it's part of he's a poet, and I think that's what he does. He has to convey what he feels to the outside world.
And of the songs that you have listened to, this one included, where does this sort of rank? Is it one of your favorites or one of your least favorites? What, you know, what
No, I musically, I quite liked it. You know, I thought it was quite moving, quite good.
Okay, well, thank you, Nan. We'll have to think of the next song for you to listen to in the meantime. But for now, we'll say thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you, Nanny
Can
Val.
can we just spell out Steven and ask him if he's listening to give us a little tap on the table, please?
Or you can feel the table rumbling, Chris.
Oh dear.
Let's hope he listens.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Good night. Bye, boys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so now it is time for the Morrissey quiz.
Ooh.
Yes, I have compiled 10 questions which will test your mettle, your Moz mettle.
How well did you do last time?
I got 10 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
And
I can't quite recall that you got 10 out of 10.
No,
but I obviously trust you as a friend.
Okay, do you want to hear the theme music?
Yes, do I?
It's the quiz. We're gonna do this quiz.
10 out of 10 for me.
10 out of 10 is what you'll get because you're a good Smiths fan and Morrissey.
Very exciting.
It's just a preview because I haven't paid
For the rights.
for the rights. It's the Morrissey quiz right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Morrissey and Smiths quiz. Today we have Chris from Manchester.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm very good.
Well, thank you. I hope everyone's treating you well.
Yes. Haven't put my hand in my pocket the whole time.
Oh, it's lovely. It's a good team. Now, question 1. What is the slang name for the type of gun that Morrissey is holding on the cover of You Are the Quarry?
Oh, I know this one. I actually had the t-shirt on the other day. It's a Tommy gun.
Correct. Tommy gun. Question number 2. Which comedian is thanked by his real name, Jim Moir, on the single Sing Your Life? You're looking a bit. You're mouthing words.
I don't know this one.
So Jim Wah is his real name.
Yeah.
Sing Your
And
Life.
they mention him on the song.
No, they on the sleeve for the single it says with thanks to Jim Wah, which is the real name of a comedian who's in a double act. Who was very famous at the time.
Who's the other one in the double act?
I can't tell you that, obviously.
I'm gonna have to. Can I phone a friend?
No.
Can I got 50-50?
Okay, I'll give you a 50-50.
Okay, 50-50.
Is it Eric Morecambe or Vic Reeves?
Oh, okay. It's Vic Reeves.
Correct. It is Vic Reeves. Okay, you can have that point. Question 3. Which postcode does Morrissey dream of living in on the eponymous title track of the album Maladjusted?
Southwest 6.
Correct. Southwest 6 with Someone Like You.
Someone Like You. Keep Thieves Out.
Yes. No, Keep Thieves Hours, isn't it? Oh, Chris is having a Bernstein Bears moment here.
I think it's Keep Thieves Out.
I think it's Keep Thieves
Out
Hours.
the house. Get them out the house. I don't know.
Okay, we can check on that. Question number 4. Which brand of butter did Morrissey request on his rider for a 2008 concert in Israel?
Okay. So butter.
Yeah.
So
It's one of the big
so
ones.
So I can't believe it's not butter.
No.
One of the big ones. I think it's gonna be the Irish one, which is called Kerrygold.
Correct.
I don't. Yeah.
That's
What
correct.
year was it?
2008?
Oh, okay, good.
Because he wasn't vegan then, was he?
No, I don't know.
I don't think he was. Well, clearly not if he was eating Kerrygold butter.
They maybe do a vegan version.
I don't think they did in
I'm
2008.
surprised you can get Kerrygold in Israel.
Yeah, I don't know how they source this stuff for the rider. That's a good point. Question number 5. Who was the real-life inspiration for Frankly Mr. Shankly, responsible for the bloody awful poetry? So,
Is this the guy who was to Rough Trade?
maybe. What was his name?
I don't know his name, but it's someone who ran Rough Trade.
Okay, you can have half a point. The answer was Jeff
Oh,
Travis.
Travis, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Question number 6. What was the name of the fifth Smith who joined the band for 6 months in 1986?
The fifth Smith, like the fifth Beatle.
Yeah.
Who was the fifth Beatle?
I don't know. Your dad.
The fifth Smith was Craig Gannon.
Correct.
How are you doing at home?
Yes. How are you doing at home? We will never ever know because no one emails us. No, they do really. Question number 7. What is Morrissey's star sign?
I know this actually, but I do know what it is, but not because I'm not very good at guessing. If someone gave me their date of birth, unless it was a Sagittarius, I'd struggle because that's mine. But I know that Morrissey is a Gemini, but I don't know what month that is. I just know it because I know it.
Yeah, well, that's the answer, Gemini.
Yeah,
That's
I
his
know.
star sign.
I know. But, I mean, I don't know what is
Well,
it.
May.
Yeah, is it May? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's May, isn't it? His birthday.
I think it's just on the cusp of.
It's 5th of
Taurus.
May, isn't it, or 4th of May?
No. Morrissey's
birthday.
birthday's like the 22nd, I think.
Oh yeah, I meant that. Oh, it is 22nd. Yeah.
Is
yeah.
it?
Yeah, it's the 22nd of May. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Otherwise, I'll get slayed by our fellow fans for not knowing Morrissey's birthday. But luckily, I did.
Oh, I'm glad I got that one. That was a tough one, isn't it?
Okay. So, question number 8. Which Morrissey song, featuring guest vocals from Suggs of Madness fame, sees Moz rhyme mascara with Fender guitar? And I use the word rhyme loosely.
Oh, yeah. This is Get Off the Stage.
Correct. Which he later went on to regret very much because he wrote that song about Mick Jagger when he was about 46. Morrissey's quite a while since Morrissey's been 46 and he's still on the stage, so I think he has admitted he regrets that song. Question number 9.
Ooh.
When Morrissey sold out all 35,000 tickets for the Hollywood Bowl in just 23 minutes in 1992, whose record did he beat? Is that question too complicated?
No,
got a lot
it's
of
not. It's not
information.
too complicated. I know what you're getting at. What year?
Well, the record that he set was in 1992.
That's okay, 1992. Madonna, Ken Dodd.
Engelbert Humperdinck.
Humperdinck,
No, you got no. Sorry. You
Can you give us a clue before you ruin it and give the answer?
got,
I'm not going to get it right now, I know that.
I don't think I can give you a clue because it's a really, really famous band.
Beatles.
Yeah.
Oh, is it the Beatles?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
you can
okay.
help. Okay. you can-
No, I didn't get it, but yeah.
Okay. Wrong then. Question number 10. What two common vegetables / plants does Morrissey despise in cooking? You need to say something.
Okay, right. Two vegetables that he despises.
Yeah.
Um,
And they're very common.
very common.
As in there's a lot of them.
What, in the world or in food?
Yeah, in food. It's very, very common ingredients.
I think if it's two, I mean, I'm not going to get access normal vegetables, but some people don't eat.
What?
Aubergine and onion.
Okay, well, onion is one of them.
Onion, okay, so it's one of it's like that.
No, you've been giving your
Oh.
answers now. So you
Yes.
want
I know what it is. I know what it is now.
half a point.
I know
What
what
do you think it was?
It's just something stupid like onion and garlic, which is in everything, which you have to have in every food.
Yeah, it was garlic, but you only got one. So I just
What are you doing, Morrissey? Who doesn't like onion and garlic? It's like that's not even a food. That's just an ingredient.
it's like I don't like houses that are made of bricks.
yeah. Well, Americans they don't often.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. No, each to their own. So I'll just enter the calculations into the computer.
You're now telling the computer exactly what it can do with a lifetime supply of chocolate. So what have I got then?
About 7 out of 10.
About.
Yeah.
Okay, and what do I win?
You win this lovely book by Dickie Felton.
Oh, my seventh one.
Yeah. There you
Seventh
go.
copy. Okay.
You know, I want that back.
Okay.
Um,
So, did people at home do better than me? Do you think? Or
yeah,
do
if
think
you got 10 out of 10, we want you on this show to replace the Chris. No, we want to talk to you because I think those questions are quite hard.
Yeah, write in if you got 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And we'll do something with you.
Yes. Okay. What have we got coming up next? We're going to do some recommendations, aren't we?
Yeah. So this next bit is, if you love Morrissey, then you'll also love this.
Yeah.
So it's things that we think cross across those borders.
Yes. Okay, let's take a short break and we'll be back.
So we're about mostly to the bottom of the wine now.
Yes.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's good. No, it's
That's
good.
an improvement, if anything, really.
It's nice. It's crisp. You know, I am one of those people when I spend more money on stuff, I just think it's better.
Yeah, a snob.
Yeah.
I think it's a snob, isn't it? Well, I mean, I like it. And last time I think we went through about 2 bottles, though, or maybe 2.5.
Yeah.
I think we did. I was a bit tipsy in the last one, but this one I feel much more
Yeah.
stable.
Yes.
Okay, so that's good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. So, what have you got for us then? We're going on to the if you love Morrissey, then you'll love this.
Okay. Well, I think this is a pretty safe bet. If you like Morrissey, I think you'll like this because it's a book. It's called The More You Ignore Me, and it's by Jo Brand. Jo Brand, who I just adore. So she wrote this book, obviously inspired by The More You Ignore Me, The Closer I Get. It is about a family. The mum has quite serious mental health issues. So she's sometimes she's fine, and then sometimes she has a breakdown. It's written from the daughter's perspective. The daughter is obsessed with Morrissey. The mum ends up becoming obsessed with Morrissey as well. But what I love about it is, you know, I've been through mental health episodes. I've had psychosis and things like that. This is the first book that I read, or the first time when I could. There's a scene basically when the mum is sat on the roof, and I think she has like a gerbil or a hamster, and everyone's worried that she's going to chuck the gerbil off.
no.
You know, like she's not a bad person, but like that's kind of the scene. And it's written in such a way that I was laughing, and I was laughing not at her in this psychotic state, just at the absurdity of the situation, you know, and it made me feel less ashamed of times when I've been through that. And even if you don't have any mental health problems or whatever, I think you'll still like this book because there's a lot of Morrissey references. I think it's set in the 80s when Morrissey was in the Smiths. So you'll feel at home. And Jo Brand just writes in such a funny and touching way. And of course, Jo Brand used to be a psychiatric nurse before she was a comedian, so she knows this world, and she writes about it very sensitively. So I would recommend that. You can get it. If you've got a Kindle, you can get it for just a few quid. That's how I read it. I think it was on holiday. There's also a film about the book, which I haven't watched. I think Sheridan Smith plays the mum.
Okay.
So I'd like to see that one day. So that is my recommendation.
Sounds great. I love Jo Brand.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
She is great. Yeah, I've not read that, so that's a good one for me to listen to read.
Yeah, there might be an audiobook. I don't know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how will you? Joke. What's your recommendation?
So mine is something I stumbled across it on when I was looking at other podcasts. I had a flight and I had to download some podcasts quickly in case I had to talk to the person next to me, and it's called Mean Gaze. And it's
I thought it was called Bad Gaze.
Sorry, it's called Bad Gaze. Yes, sorry, yes. It's called Bad Gaze, and it's two guys that present it, Hugh Lemmy and Ben Miller. It's available on, I think they've got their own website, but I listen to it, I think, on Spotify.
Yeah.
And I've not listened to all of them. Just a couple of them stood out, and they sort of are very Morrissey-esque, because there's episode 2 is about Bosie, and Bosie was Oscar Wilde's younger lover, and they talk about him and how he was a bad gay. Well, essentially, they're people in history that they want to sort of reevaluate them, and I think part of the premise of the podcast is around the fact that nowadays, especially, gay history and gay pride is such a, you know, it's all seen in the good light now. But this is examining, and they're both gay guys as well, talking about where maybe there's been, you know, the hard truth sometimes that not everyone's good just because they're a minority or something like that. I guess that's the idea. So obviously Bosie's a really good one for a Morrissey fan, and so there's also episode 8 is Ronnie Cray, which was a really good episode. So yeah, they're really good, and there's I think loads of them.
Isn't there one about Morrissey as well?
Well, there is, but I wouldn't listen to that one.
What, does it challenge the idea that Morrissey might not be a saint?
Yes, yeah, which we don't like that, but yeah, they do a Morrissey one.
I wonder if Morrissey's listened to it. Do you think he would like it?
It should be mean human sexuals.
Yeah, mean human
bad human sexuals.
Yeah, I suppose Morrissey would object to be putting in that category, but I suppose they're talking about people who are queer or basically not heterosexual.
Yeah, but there's quite a few. There was a couple of ones that were probably not so Morrissey-esque, but quite funny. There was the one they did was Cole Lagerfield, who's, I suppose that would make sense because he comes across like that. There's also Krista Dick. You know, she was the recent commissioner for the Met Police, the Metropolitan Police, which is the London Police.
Yeah.
I didn't know she was a lesbian, but yeah.
Okay, interesting. Cool. Well, we hope you enjoy those if you try them out. Next, we are going to dissect the lyrics of 3 songs, some by Morrissey, some by the Smiths. So let's take a quick break and we'll come back.
Yep.
See in me the side of you that sometimes makes you jump with fright. Smiler with knife, it's your big night. Sinking bed, all warm and clean. Only sadness waits for me. Smiler with knife, you're just in time. You're just in time.
The songs we've chosen are 3 songs from the list that Morrissey recently published on Morrissey Central.
They were the songs that he said gave him the most lyrical self-fulfillment, wasn't it?
That's it, yeah. So we thought, well, we'd have to pick some songs from there. So we picked, the first song we picked was Smiler with Knife.
Smiler with Knife. Yeah, and by the way, all 3 songs are in the top 10 of this list. So, Smiler with Knife, which we've just heard a short clip from, is really quite disturbing song, in my opinion. It makes you feel a bit on edge. Essentially, to me, Smiler is a serial killer or a murderer. I think that's his serial killer name is Smiler. And Morrissey, or the character that Morrissey's representing, Smiler has come into his bedroom and is going to kill him with a knife. And Morrissey, instead of being scared or having all the normal reactions that you might have, he sympathizes with Smiler, the killer, and he says, you know, trust me, when my last breath falls away, trust me, you'll be okay. Like, he's accepting his death. Maybe Morrissey feels he deserves it, or he understands the warped kind of poetry in Smiler's mind that this is his victim and this has to happen. Of course, Morrissey's always been sympathetic towards figures like, well, maybe not sympathetic, but fascinated by, you know, Jack the Ripper and people like that, the Krays. So yeah, I think what's unique about this song is that Morrissey is sympathising with his own murderer. That's how it strikes me.
It's like a weird Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
I think so. I think it's definitely that side of the song, but also there's a sexual side to the song, isn't there? Like, a lot of the lyrics, to me, a lot of the lines can have like a double meaning. Like, slam in one shot, gentle pain. Like, the lines are so good, but I really find it hard to put meaning to the whole song as a package.
Well, of course, yeah, I suppose there is a sexual element, and he says in the song, sex and love are not the same. You know, is it a real knife, or is he being, you know, possibly even sexually assaulted by this Smiler person? You know, the painful assault that he's reckoning. I don't know, but yeah, you're right. There is definitely a double meaning in terms of sort of a sexual side of the coin.
Yeah,
it's interesting that Morrissey put it in his top 10. I've always, you know, it's not a song that I listen to a lot. I think because it makes me feel a bit uncomfortable. Like everything in the room's just at an angle now, and you feel a bit odd. That's the power of his writing, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's a really powerful song. Although, yeah.
What have we got next?
So next we have in my opinion, one of the greatest Morrissey songs, "Trouble Loves Me."
Yes. Okay, let's listen to a bit of that now.
Just when it seems like everything's evened out and the balance seems serene, trouble loves me, walks beside me to chide me, not to guide me. It's still much more than you'll do.
So this song really, it almost reminds me, or summons the emotion of every night out I've ever had. So going to Soho, being in the half light, acting cool, frowning, and then going to Waste in the Wrong Arms, and then being on the Flesh Rampage. All those things, to me, they bring that emotion up of being out. I think there's a lot of that in the song.
Well, that's interesting, because to me he's like at home with no one around him. What to me, you know, in my head, and he's frowning in the half light of his badly lit living room and bemoaning all this stuff. So that's very interesting. What else did you think of it?
Yeah, I think there was, and then I mean, I suppose whenever I listen to this, I always also want to know who Morrissey was on the Flesh Rampage for, or to, why he was on the Flesh Rampage. So yeah, and then the ending as well reminds me of that, the disenchanted taste. It's quite a. What do you think about that part?
Well, disenchanted taste. Well, I think that is linked to, basically, when he's saying disenchanted taste, I think he's talking about depression. When you're depressed, the world becomes disenchanted, and I think that this song is quite linked to another song on the album, which is "The Edges Are No Longer Parallel," which I strongly believe is about when you become depressed, everything goes off kilter. So I think this song, so to me, not disagreeing with what you said. Just a different perspective. I think this song, when he's referring to trouble, is like mental trouble. So, you know, his life is going along fine, smoothly, blah, blah, blah. And then trouble will just come to him and he will go into a depression or whatever. So, yeah, to me, the trouble that he's talking about is like when you have a kind of when your mental health can go wrong at any time. But I also think this song, I mean, I've just seen the one video that we used to listen to the song just now has 1 million views, and that's just one of the Trouble Loves Me videos online. It's obviously very popular, and I think part of that is because the lyrics, especially when you see them written down, are very much like poetry. This is a very dense song. There aren't that many repeated lines. Like it's with Ouija board, you know, there's a lot of repetition. It's quite simple. This is like really like a poem, and it paints a story, and I think that is always going to be popular, isn't it, with songs?
I think there's also a bit of the bit of the Mozart charm, the comedy in there as well. Because when he says trouble loves me, seeks and finds me, to charlatanize me, which is only as it should be. It's almost a bit of tongue in cheek, isn't it? That part. It's like, you know, you wouldn't say that you're being too serious, but it's almost like, yeah, of course, as is life, as is my life.
Yeah.
Which I think that's which obviously he probably means that, but it's also said in a quite funny way.
I think also, like, especially if you've read Autobiography, you'll see that Trouble does seem to follow Morrissey around, and he does seem to have that kind of life where things are always going wrong, or people are dying, or, you know, just constant kind of barrage of bad stuff. So I think there's an element of that going on.
Yeah.
But also I think it does seem he's talking to somebody who should be treating him better, isn't he? And he's saying, you know, well, if you're not going to fall in love with me, at least give me a hug. But while you fall into the wrong arms and I'm sat at home or out on the flesh rampage in Soho trying to get over it by meeting other people.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was, of course, I'm pretty sure he was living in London at the time. So there's this album and Vauxhall and I, and there's an era of his music which is very London based, isn't there? And I think when he reissued this album, it was a picture of him in London, wasn't it? With that sign above his head that said "Alone in London."
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, Trouble Loves Me, definitely one of my favourites. Is it one of yours?
Definitely one of my favourites.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going on to next, we're going on to the Smith song this time, "Paint a Vulgar Picture."
Yes, so all three of these were in the top 10 of Morrissey's that you put on the list. Yes, Paint a Vulgar Picture. Let's have a little listen to that.
At the record company party, on their hands a dead star. The sycophantic slides all say, I knew him first and I knew him well. Reissue, repackage, reevaluate the songs. Double pack with a photograph, extra track and a tacky badge.
So that was Paint a Vulgar Picture by the Smiths, 1987, from Strange Ways, Here We Come. I think it's very interesting that Morrissey put this in his top 10, because I think this is how Morrissey might possibly see himself in the context of the record industry and the music industry. I think that he didn't please them. He did things, for the most part, on his own terms, even to the point at which, you know, for the Everyday's Like Sunday video, he didn't even turn up because he didn't want to. I presume it's because he didn't want to. He's what you might call an awkward bugger, but this, I think, is how he sees himself. So he's talking to other stars who he thinks are just trying to work the system and please the record execs, but there's also another side which I really like, which is what Morrissey often does. He puts himself in the shoes of the fan who's listening. Morrissey is always at pains to remind you that he was once in your shoes, a fan. He's the fan's fan, sort of thing, and you know, so touching to me, the bit when he says, "I touched you at the sound check. In my heart, I beg, take me with you." I remember feeling like that. You know, just like anywhere but this boring life that I've
mundane life. Yeah. I think you're right, because the song does have sort of two it's almost like two songs in one, really. The way that you talk about the record industry and almost, you know, being annoyed at these other pop stars that just would do anything to keep famous and to get the fame. But then also the nobody in the crowd who wants a bit of that but can't have any of that right now. And maybe that's from when Morrissey was, before he was famous, when he obviously we know he was a big fan of certain bands, the New York Dolls, wanting part of that, and he knows that feeling, which many of us have. So I think that it's got like that dual meaning.
I think we also have to acknowledge that there is some hypocrisy going on, because he talks about reissue, repackage, extra track and a tacky badge. Well, Morrissey's done quite a lot of
That's
that.
not been before then. We realise how much you can make of it.
Yeah. And I honestly don't blame anyone who does that. I mean, I can understand how from a lofty artist's perspective, you might find it a bit tacky to keep reissuing your stuff. But, the record industry is a machine that works in a certain way, and you do have to keep re-releasing stuff so that people find you again and renew that interest. But it is hypocritical, I think. So it would be very interesting to ask Morrissey. So what is your opinion on reissuing? Do you do it because you just kind of have to?
Or does he have control over it?
Yeah.
Or is it easy just to let it happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the lyrics in the song is you could have walked away, couldn't you? That's quite powerful to think about. Almost like it almost gives you a protective blanket to think I could just walk away. In this song, the meaning we talked about earlier as well around the fan and someone in the audience and someone who's like, take me with you, please. And that there's actually an Eminem song called "Stan." Do you know that song?
No, I've heard of it.
So that song has it just relate. I don't know many Eminem songs, but this one is very, very lyric heavy, almost like a book for a song. It goes on a long way. But some of the sort of like Dear Slim, I wrote to you, but he said I left my cell, my pager, I left my phone number at the bottom. I sent 2 letters back in the autumn. They probably got lost in the post office or something. Those sort of lyrics, and it's kind of like the similar vibe, where they're trying to get a hold of that person, and so I think that he's probably something that Eminem relates to as well.
Yeah. Well, but this is the thing, we listen to, if you have an artist that you listen to a lot, like we do with Morrissey and the Smiths, you feel so close to them, and you feel like you really understand them. And of course we don't know Morrissey, we don't know what he's really like, but you do feel like, oh, if I could just, maybe as you get older less so, but as when you're younger, if I could just meet them, if I could just touch them, they would really like me, because I know I really like them, and I could be whisked away to this glamorous life, which I'm sure a lot of these pop stars, including Morrissey, would tell you is not actually that glamorous. And there's a lot of driving around on buses across America, the American wilderness, for hours and hours in a hot bus, and I don't know, it's not. Then again, would I rather be a pop star than my current job? Probably, yeah. So,
I think yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course this song ends with, no, they cannot touch you, my darling, they cannot touch you now, but me and my true love will never meet again. I presume the true love is the pop star that he's talking about. But this, they cannot hurt you, my darling, now that they're dead, basically. Now, when Morrissey does die, I think people will downgrade the more controversial things that he's said and upgrade the sheer influence that he's had on pop music, and because when you die you do become slightly more untouchable, I think, don't you?
Yeah, and also you can't. Was it a Latin saying about that? I can't remember. There's a Latin saying about talking ill of the dead.
Yeah,
I'd sound very clever if I remembered it right now. but yeah, I think that's true. But also, I think this song highlights though why Morrissey may not get the same accolades as when Elton John dies, being maybe on the top of BBC News for a long time, which I'm sure the BBC News will cover it on the headline. But it won't be the same as Elton John or John Lennon. That was a while ago. The other one, Paul McCartney, because they went for the MBEs. They went on, did lots of interviews and things, and they've been a good pop star.
Yeah.
They did all the things that Morrissey's sort of slagging off in this song.
No threat.
No threat. Yeah. So I think that's the big difference, isn't it? That's why. Yeah.
So yeah, well, some people would say, well, Chris, he wouldn't get the same attention as Elton John because he's not as famous. Well, that's true, But could Morrissey have been more famous if he'd just kept
That-
his mouth shut a bit?
I think he could. I think he could have opened his possibly, yeah. But then also, I find that hard to believe because I love him because he doesn't keep his mouth shut because he says he says the things that you want him to say or that I want him to say, not that he's meant to say.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably why Morrissey has such a strong hardcore fan base that really love him, as opposed to maybe those other people we mentioned that maybe have a very dispersed fan base and they may listen to them on the radio every so often, but they're not true fans that in the sense that
In a
Morrissey
hardcore
not
sense.
hardcore Morrissey fans,
Yeah.
yeah. Which I think I believe Morrissey shares his opinion that he would rather have the fans that really love him and care about him than just occasional fans, maybe occasional
Yeah.
table fans.
Fair weather fans.
Yes, fair weather fans.
Fans. Okay, well, that's the 3 songs. Now we are going to talk to Dan from the Smiths Museum Instagram account. He is going to talk us through some of his most treasured items in the collection. So that's going to be great. Let's go into that now. So, Daniel, thanks for joining us on the Morrissey and Wine podcast, all the way from Boston in America. What's the weather like today?
It's been hot and humid for the past 2 weeks, so probably about 92 degrees Fahrenheit. It feels like 100% humidity, so we're melting here.
Well, we're supposed to be in the middle of, we're in high summer apparently in the UK, but me and Chris have just been across the road for a drink at the pub and it's absolutely chucking it down. The rain is really heavy and it's not that
Oh,
warm. So, British weather, eh?
Yeah, I got lucky when I visited last time, for the Andy Festival, and we maybe had 30 minutes of rain the whole time I was there. So
Very lucky.
Very-
So Daniel, you run the Smiths Museum on Instagram, and I was following your account before I met you at the All About Andy event, and it's if you don't follow already, it's you're constantly showing people pictures of essentially the artifacts from your very own Smiths Museum. How did the account start? How long ago was that, and how did it come about?
The account started maybe about, I want to say 12, 13 years ago. We've been going since then. Not the official Instagram account, that was only within the past couple of years, but we started off on Facebook. And it's actually co founded by myself and my good friend Paul. And so Paul was the inspiration for the museum itself. He's an original fan. He's been following the Smiths since, he heard them on the Peel Sessions in 1983, sort of dedicated his teenage years to following them around on tour everywhere and, collecting as much sort of memorabilia as he could back then. And we actually met when I first started collecting around, I'd say 2011, 2012. So his wife was selling off some of his collection on eBay, with his permission. She added on there. And so we got to talking back and forth, and eventually she said, "You know what? I'm gonna put you in touch with my husband Paul. Like I feel like you guys will really hit it off. You'll get along." And so Paul and I started talking, and we hit it off. We became really good friends. We still are to this day. And yeah, just seeing his collection and hearing his stories and all these amazing things that he got to experience. Being a younger Smiths fan, I wasn't born until 1989, so I didn't get to experience all of that. So like getting to live vicariously through him and through his collection was just really fascinating and brought me a lot of joy. And so I thought it'd be something that would be really nice to share with other Smiths fans that maybe didn't get to experience the same thing.
And so, how many items are in the collection?
Oh boy, that's a tough question. Between myself and Paul, a few thousand, yeah.
Gosh.
It's grown extensively, over the years. So honestly, I don't even keep count. But I have like a Google spreadsheet that I keep track of, the individual details of things that are in there. But yeah, I haven't counted in a while.
So surely we must be talking about the largest collection of Smith's artifacts, as I'm calling them. Is there a larger collection out there that you're aware of?
Um, I never like to claim the best or claim the largest or anything like that. I'd say one of the largest in the world. I'm sure there's a lot of older fans that have things that don't necessarily post online, and they're just sitting on this massive collection that we don't know about. So yeah, I don't know. I'd say one of the largest, but I can't claim the largest.
That is remarkable. So Daniel, you've I believe selected 5 items that are among your favorites that you're going to tell us about. Is that correct?
I have, yes. I've got
So
most of them sitting right next to me. One of them's too large, but
okay, well, talk us through the first one then. What have we got?
uh, so the first one's actually directly related to Paul and how we met. It's a Queen is Dead tour jacket that he purchased himself the first time he visited America. He went to see the Smiths on the Queen is Dead tour in 1986, and he went to the Pier 84 show in New York and just happened to pick up this what a dark blue denim tour jacket. It says the Smiths 1986 U.S. tour on the front and has a big screen printed image of the Hatful of Hollow artwork on the back. And so this is something that he cherished and kept until I met him in about 2012, and you know um, it was something that his wife had mentioned to me and said, you know what, yeah, just talk to Paul. He may be interested in letting this go to a fellow fan. And so we had talked about it and sort of agreed on a deal. And then later that summer, I was actually on a road trip with my friend at the time, and he lives out in California now. So we were on a road trip all through California, and we actually stopped by Paul's house. So he invited us over. We had just sort of known each other. We had talked online, but never talked in person. So we actually pitched a tent in his backyard for the night.
Oh,
You're meeting new people for the first time. You got to be cautious. So we pitched a tent in his backyard for the night, and the following day he took us inside. We got to look through his entire collection. It's just like opening this treasure chest of Smith stuff. So that was a really incredible experience. And then at the end of it all, I walked away with a tour jacket, and I still have it to this day. And I think sort of as a symbol of our friendship and the beginning of our friendship, it's just always been really special to me.
so what have we got? Number 2. What's our second item?
Number 2 is a How Soon Is Now test pressing.
Ooh.
So I don't collect too many records anymore. I tend to go more towards like T-shirts and posters and like other oddities or whatnot. Um, but this one's special to me because on the B side is my favorite Smith song, "Well I Wonder." So this song sort of got me through a difficult period in my early 20s. Post breakup with my girlfriend at the time, sort of living at home after college, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and just really depressed, to be honest. And so I had this song on repeat for a few months straight. And, when Morrissey says on Rubber Ring, don't forget the songs that make you cry and the songs that saved your life, that was Well I Wonder for me.
And
And
how
so,
many, sorry, Daniel, carry on.
no, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to ask you, how many for a test pressing, and I suppose a test pressing that's of that age, how many of those might be out there in people's homes? Not many, I presume.
Test pressings, I'd probably say around 10 or so. It depends on the test pressing, anywhere from 5 to 10 usually.
Okay. And how did you come across that piece?
I want to say I acquired it on the Morrissey solo forums off a fellow collector. Um, that one was many years ago. It's tough to remember.
Have to
Yeah,
check.
I want to say it was someone on the Morrissey solo forums.
And what do we have at number 3?
Number 3, we have a set of Hacienda gig flyers from the Smiths, 3 shows at the Hacienda in 1983.
Wow.
So these I acquired off a seller on Etsy, and this seller had got them from the factory record store called The Area that was actually briefly located in Affleck's Palace in Manchester from around 1989 to 1991. And so they, after when factory was kind of around, and even after factory closed down, they would sell off bits and pieces of their memorabilia and little things they had lying around. And so she had a bunch of different posters, different bands, and she just happened to have these flyers for the Three Smiths gigs. So these kind of symbolize to me the ascension of the Smiths, sort of from this small local act to superstardom all within that 1 year. So the early show, in February, there were the openers. That was actually their third ever show that they played. They were opening for a factory funk band called 52nd Street. So so these flyers. So when I first got them off Etsy, they seemed a little strange in the way they looked. Like one of them was missing uh, the name of 52nd Street. It only had the Smiths on it. Another one from the same show had both names, and then the one for the July show actually says June 6th on it. So I was a little bit skeptical at first as to their authenticity. So that led me to kind of search around for, someone from the Hacienda who might have had some insight or some experience with them. Um, and that put me in contact with a gentleman named Trevor Johnson. So Trevor was actually a graphic designer for Factory and the Hacienda, and a close friend of the Smiths in the early days. And so I reached out to Trevor. Trevor and his brother Craig, they were actually both designers for Factory. They verified that there were probably something that was on like a bulletin board inside the club. So not necessarily like outside promotion, but more of like internal, hey, this is what's going on this month for the employees and just like the people around. And so that kind of started a friendship with Trevor as well. The time before this last time that I went to England, Trevor actually took me on like a full walking tour of Manchester. Showed me
Oh,
all the Smith sites, their practice space on Portland Street, where the old Hacienda used to be, the GMX Center, Manhattan Sound, and so that was something really nice that came of finding these flyers as well.
Shall we move on to your next item?
Yeah. So the next item is actually a collection of items. It's my collection of fan photographs. So if you follow the page, you know that every Friday I like to post a different photograph from our collection. Um, we have I want to say over 700 original photographs that were taken by fans of the Smiths at the time, mostly acquired through Mark Taylor of the Smiths Indeed.
Oh, yes.
So yep. So Mark and I became friends several years ago. Again, he was just selling some records at the time, and he said he had this large bin of original photographs, and he literally had a large bin. These things were just thrown in a big plastic bin. Um, and so I was able to acquire those from him. And being the editor of the fanzine, fans would send him photographs to be published for each issue. So he had about maybe 500-600 photographs in there. A lot of live shots of the band on stage, some outside of the venues or just on the street, interacting with other fans. So they were just really candid and raw, and felt like a behind the scenes look into Smithdom. Something a little different than the usual professional, like polished prints. So I just really enjoyed that aspect of them, and I really enjoy sharing them with other fans, and hope it brings them joy to see them.
Have you ever had anybody get in touch and say, "Oh my gosh, that's me in that picture"?
Yeah. I don't know if they said that's me in that picture, but I have some people that have said, "Hey, that's my picture. I took that photograph." So that's always nice because I like to give credit to the photographers. And on a lot of the photos, Mark wrote the name of who took it and where it was taken on the back, but some of them are just blank. So if you see your photograph, please reach out. Let me know. I'd love to give you credit for the photo.
So what do we have for your fifth and final item?
The fifth and final item is the largest item. It's actually the Queen is Dead tour backdrop.
Oh
And
my
so
god.
that's the three photos that I have posted on the front of the Instagram page. And so it's really overwhelming. It's a massive 40 feet wide by 28-foot tall backdrop. I have to keep it rolled up, needless to say. Um, but yeah, that set the stage for the Smiths 1986 World Tour. It was at all the shows in England. It traveled to the U.S. to all the U.S. shows, and anyone that attended the tour would have seen that backdrop on stage.
So I have two questions that immediately come to mind. My first one is, how did you acquire it? And secondly, have you got any opportunity to actually display it in full?
So I acquired it from a site called Gumtree.
Hmm.
So I don't know if you've heard of Gumtree. It's kind of just like a local selling site, kind of like a Craigslist in the U.S. almost.
Hmm.
Um, so there was a guy on there named Martin Morgan who was selling it, and he had been gifted it by a friend of his, shortly before he passed away. And his friend actually acquired it back in '87 after the Smiths broke up. And so the Smiths used to store a lot of their kit at this place called Airstream Acoustics. And so after the Smiths broke up, Airstream sent them a message, said, "Hey, come pick up all your stuff, and anything you don't want, we're just gonna, throw it away." And so they came and picked up everything, and they left the backdrop behind. And so the backdrop was going to be thrown away. Um, and this one gentleman, unfortunately, I don't know his name, decided to save it. And so he packed it up in his truck and he kept it in his house until I'd say the mid 2000s. And after that, he gave it to Martin. And Martin had put it on eBay, I want to say around 2011. So I hadn't seen it. I hadn't really started collecting at that point. It was shortly afterwards. But Martin put it on eBay in 2011 and took it down and then listed it on Gumtree in 2015.
And
And
that's
so
when
I
you.
got, yep, that's when I got in touch with him. And that's when I saw it. I had these Google alerts set up. So every day at like a certain time, Google would send me an email of all the different you know, postings that said Smiths in the day. So whether it was an article on a website or like some sort of listing online for something, Google would send me an alert, and this happened to pop up as one of the alerts on there.
And so, yeah, the second part of my question was wondering, I presume at home you don't have enough space to display it in full, do you? Do you?
No,
No.
not even close. I live in an apartment, so there's not much space to display it here. I have unfolded it completely once in my parents' backyard in New Hampshire. So I had to actually climb on the roof to get a full photograph of it. It's that big. And then in 2016, for the 30th anniversary of The Queen is Dead, we actually brought it and a bunch of other Queen is Dead pieces to my favorite local dance club in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And we took up a whole wall with the backdrop there.
Oh
And
wow.
even then, it could only fit half of it. The room wasn't tall enough, so you had it spread out, but it was only halfway outstretched.
So do you think, is there ever going to come a time when you've collected enough items, you think, right, I've got so much now, I can't do any more? Or do you think this is something you're going to do for the rest of your life?
Uh, yes, I think so. I mean, I still have a want list of things that I'm looking for, and you know, as a collector, if you know like all there's gaps in your collection, you just naturally want to fill them. So I think there's certain things that I'll probably, not get or, maybe avoid just if it gets cost prohibitive because, that tends to happen and that seems to be happening at the moment. But, I'll still search and I'll still spend time trying to find things and, you know, maybe it takes a little bit longer than I'd like it to, but so be it. I really enjoy it.
Well, Daniel, this has been fascinating. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. And if people want to see more of your items, they can follow you on at the Smiths Museum on Instagram. Is that right? Are there any other ways that people can stay in touch?
No, that's the only social media platform that we have.
Okay, brilliant. Well, I can heartily recommend that you do follow the Smiths Museum account if you don't already. Daniel, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And it's nice to talk to you again.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate that as well.
Thank you. Okay, speak soon. Bye, Daniel.
Okay, goodbye, George.
Well, all I can say is I'm very jealous of all the things he's got, especially the Queen is Dead backdrop. That's really cool. Yeah, he has some really good stuff.
I mean, I didn't understand the scale of Daniel's collection until we chatted properly. I know we did meet at the Moz Army event earlier this year, but we didn't. I didn't have a full chat. I just didn't know that it was such a massive collection, which is so impressive. And just to hear the stories behind each item. These items are not just Smith's memorabilia; they also have sentiments attached to them, don't they? Their provenance and. So yeah.
So I wish you'd asked him what else he wants in his collection. That's what I want to find out. Maybe you can let us know one item that he wants that he hasn't got.
Yes. Well, because I was thinking of, you may have, some of the listeners may have watched Psychoville on the BBC. And there's a character in that where he collects Beanie Babies, but he collects all of the Beanie Babies, and then he gets, I think it's called Paradise Syndrome, when you have everything that you want. So you this is the problem that you now have everything. So then he chucks away one of his Beanie Babies in the sea, and then he spends the next year trying to find it again. So I did wonder when I was asking that question of Daniel, are you going to go on forever or whatever? I think it's the pursuit that's probably interesting and exciting and keeps you captivated.
Yeah.
To own every piece of memorabilia that you could ever want, maybe that would be quite unsatisfying.
Yeah, to complete the collection. But I can imagine it's also quite pricey.
Yes.
I collect badges, which are quite notoriously cheap.
Yeah.
Or buttons, as they call them in America. But yeah.
Yeah.
But they're really, really interesting. And we're going to follow that page.
Yeah.
See what else goes out.
Yeah, at the Smiths Museum on Instagram. So that's everything for today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to all of our new subscribers that we've got in the last month. We really appreciate it. And, finding out that we have all these listeners from all over the world is also really cool.
Yeah, I can take some flies to Vegas.
Yeah, take some flies to Vegas, absolutely. So thank you, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you, and protect Morrissey at all costs.
Yes, and Godspeed.